The last speaker today will take us to the specialist health services and will add an international perspective to the topic of implementation. Kristian Nicolaisen is a PhD research fellow at our center and also a registered nurse. Kristian is doing research on clinical ICT solutions and the use of standard data in healthcare services. Kristian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Erin. So I will try to summarize some of what the other speakers have presented here today. My presentation is titled The Hows, Whys, and Whens of e-health evaluation. And I hope no one is expecting very specific answers to these questions, but I will try to provide some key insights and takeaways based on the research on e-health implementation, development, and evaluation that we have done here on the center. So first, some background information. The last 3 decades have brought a substantial digital transformation on how healthcare services are organized, provided, and planned. And services and routines are increasingly being shifted from pen and paper procedures towards electronic and web-based services. And in this context, the EHR has a principal position. However, the effective implementation of EHRs has proven to be challenging, despite policies and financial incentives, leaving the potential for increased patient safety and efficiency largely unrealized. And this is evident not only in a substantial number of scientific publications, but also mainstream headlines and news articles. So the question is, how do we learn from prior implementations, and how can we adapt our own technology adoption based on these experiences? And one of possibly many short answers is that we can use e-health evaluations to impact the technology adoption. And first, we need to look at how and why we evaluate e-health adoptions. And there are 3 basic areas of interest that often are in focus for such evaluations. But the main goal of the implementation should also dictate what we evaluate. Why did we procure this system, and what purpose is it designed to serve? And one evaluation method that we find useful is formative evaluations. And Line, Grohilde, and Kari has both spoken about the NAS framework, and NAS can be used in a formative setting. The aim of formative evaluations is to identify potential and actual influences that can affect the implementation process and provide ongoing feedback that can be used to adjust and inform the implementation process and decision makers. So the purpose is to identify barriers, challenges, and prerequisites before they become an issue, and use this knowledge to guide the implementation. And for this mean, both quantifiable metrics such as data reports, questionnaires, and time measures can be used, but also more user-centered approaches such as interviews with end users and observations. And often we find that a mix of both provides the most valuable insights. Now, circling back to the 3 main areas of interest I mentioned earlier, the first one being technology. And from a technology perspective, we can evaluate components such as reliability, performance, interoperability, and customization. And often we find that the main technology challenges are related to the last 2. How well can this system interoperate with our rest of our systems, and how well can it be customized to fit specific needs and specific use cases? And using formative evaluations, we need to assess the existing workflows, our existing legacy systems, and outcomes prior to implementation, and then reassess after some time in order to be able to determine if the new technology has improved or inhibited the desired outcomes. And these insights can provide justifications for modifying or removing suboptimal components. But implementation projects rarely fail solely due to technological challenges. The lack of end user involvement and engagement is something that correlates to how efficiently and effectively end users can adopt new technology. And as with the technological aspects, using formative evaluations on organizational aspects need to start before a specific system is chosen and include assessments of workflows, socio-technical readiness to adopt new technology within the organization, and culture. And this is done in order to identify potential barriers to successful implementation. And we also use evaluation to engage and involve users early on in the process. And clinicians' perceived usability and the human-computer interface aspects are identified as major risk factors in EHR implementations, along with socio-technical factors such as cultural fit between technology and organization. And these challenges can often be traced back to users' unrealistic expectations of new technology or concerns about associated time consumption with new technology. And formative evaluations can, in this regard, contribute to adjust such concerns. And lastly, I won't say much about it, but from a financial perspective, the EHRs are often the largest cost for a hospital or healthcare organization. And evaluating the return of investment can be challenging, as the potential for cost savings or increased efficiency can be hard to link directly to the implementation of new technology. So moving on, when do we evaluate? And I mentioned that formative evaluations should be started before a choice of specific system is made and before the implementation starts. And this can be regarded as the pre-implementation phase. And in a recent study we performed on end users' experienced usability of EHR systems among European hospitals, our informants emphasized that the continuous user involvement and the possibility to change and adapt the system towards their specific need was important for the success of the implementation. And they even described the implementation process as still ongoing, even 5 to 8 years after the main implementation or go live. So expanding the time frame on when EHR implementations are investigated allows for both system and organization to mature, making clinicians more aware and capable of contributing to the further development of the system, and the organization more proficient in incorporating new functionalities and making work practice adaptations. So as system development and customization of technology is never actually complete, it can be necessary to regard the implementation process as just not a single happening at one point in time, but as a continuous process. We are implementing changes, new features, modules, and adaptations long after the systems first go live. And the next logical step would therefore be to perform regular evaluations in close partnership with the users. So the answer to the when question, coming as a surprise to no one, is therefore that we should continue to evaluate in order to be better at incorporating changes in both technology and organization. So to summarize a few key take-home messages, we evaluate in order to prepare for implementation, even before we go technology shopping. We look at the present workflows and outcomes and use the evaluation to determine what the actual needs are. We evaluate in order to inform the implementation process and decision makers. And we evaluate in order to adjust the process and technology based on what we find. And the aim is to identify potential pitfalls and challenges and prevent them from becoming real issues. And importantly, we use evaluation as a tool to involve and engage end users and sensitize the implementers and management. Further, we use evaluations to differentiate between what immediate benefits we can expect and what long-term effects that might occur later. And evaluations should therefore include looking at existing technology, culture, infrastructure, and procedures that can or will impact what effects can be expected from a new technology and when. For example, transitioning from paper-based routines to an EHR will to a larger degree trigger immediate benefits for end users compared to transitioning from one EHR to another EHR. And last, we use evaluations to be able to establish a strong fit between organization and technology. For end users, the important factor for increasing perceived usability is their ability to tweak and adapt the system to their needs and move away from a product that feels like one size fits all. And failure to accomplish this can, in some instances, explain why implementation of certain EHRs fail when they have been successfully implemented into other organizations elsewhere. And in order to approve the fit between organization and technology, it requires continuous end user involvement and mechanism for identifying and implementing changes. And formative evaluations can be one such tool. So this has been a short summary of some of the experience we have gained here doing research. If you want to know more or have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact. Thank you.